Welcome to From a Woman to a Leader, a podcast dedicated to discussing the challenges and providing tips for women in tech leadership. Hi, I'm your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and in each episode, we'll hear from other successful women in tech, sharing their stories, insights, and advice. Join us as we empower each other to reach our full potential in the tech industry. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader. And today, it's going to be an interesting discussion, something a little bit different than what I do usually. We're going to talk about driven by passion, from Ironman to empowerment. And I'm super excited to host Jen Rulon here with me. And Jen is a triathlete, and I will let you actually, Jen, welcome, and I will let you kind of share what you do. I think that will be probably better.
Of course. I get it. I think back in the days, I think my ego would tell everybody that I'm a 15-time Ironman triathlete. I've been to the Ironman World Championship in 2017. I'm a speaker, I'm an author, I'm this, I'm that, but I think as I look at my life now, that's not who I am, right? That's what I did. But now I am a woman who lives unapologetically in Costa Rica and trying to empower others to do the same. Now, I am not in Costa Rica now. I am in Michigan visiting family. I am in my niece's bedroom, who's 15 years old, and she's a huge sports fanatic, which my brother absolutely loves. But anyways, yeah, I'm here visiting family and life happens. But yeah, I feel that for me, I am almost 52 years old and I'm learning how to live unapologetically and with boundaries, and it's hard. I think sometimes that might be a little bit harder than getting ready for 15 Ironmans. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you chose the life that you wanted, where you wanted to live. That's very courageous, living in Costa Rica and following your passion. And we're going to talk about that. But first, let's start kind of, if you're okay with that, just to share a little bit about your journey and how did you get to even, doing triathlon?
Sure. Yeah.
First place.
Yeah, it was 1989. I was watching the ABC Wild World of Sports, and I don't know if your followers know of that. It was very popular in the United States, and it was the tagline was "The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat." And the agony of defeat is this guy rolling down a hill, and it's not like skiing, like he's just tumbling, right? But it was the 1989, and I was watching the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii and if you don't know what an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 marathon run. So I was watching the pros doing the race. I was watching Mark Allen and Dave Scott doing that. And at this time I was 17 years old. So I saw these guys doing the race, and Mark Allen won that day at a time of like 8 hours and 6 minutes, something like that. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, Paula Newby-Fraser comes in, and she was the first female to cross in almost 9 hours. And I thought to myself, well, if she could do that, I could do that, right? I mean, that was my immediate reaction. And I did a TEDx talk about this because I didn't feel like I had a very a strong bond with my dad because I wasn't sports orientated, right? Sure, I played softball. I was a cheerleader. I loved football. I could throw a spiral, but I didn't have that huge knowledge like my brother did. My brother was all about the basketball, baseball, hockey, football, which is ironic because now my niece is exactly the pinnacle of my brother. But so I thought, well, maybe if I do this Ironman, maybe I'll get my dad's attention and see that I am athletic, right? And but when I did my first Ironman, it was in 2002 at the Ironman Wisconsin. and I told my family, I told my mom and my grandpa at the time that I was going to do the Ironman World Championship. And my grandpa was like, well, when you go, I'm going to go with you. I'm like, okay. But when I did Ironman Wisconsin, I did that 6 weeks before my 31st birthday. And I said to them I was going to do an Ironman by the time I was 30. So I did accomplish that goal. But when I crossed the finish line, I realized I didn't need my dad's validation anymore because I validated myself.
That's wonderful. And at the age of 17, to even think of something like that, right?
Right.
To me, Ironman seems like superheroes. Level, right?
You.
I mean, it's like, it's
right.
not real. Like, how
right.
can a human being even do this thing? Like,
right.
For 8 to, I don't know how many hours, like the limit, but it's like, it's
17 hours is the cutoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I average, my first one was under 13. And then I finally went under the 12-mile or the 12-hour mark. So my last Ironman was a 10:46:47. I still remember it to this day. And I knocked off over 2 hours. I mean, that's crazy in my lifetime, but those that are out there for 16, 17 hours, oh my gosh, like I think that's more mentally challenging than what I did. So yeah.
And you mentioned one thing. You mentioned setting goals, like you wanted to achieve Ironman, to cross the finish line by the age of 30, which you did. So obviously powerful, setting goals and meeting them.
Yes.
And you talked about the mindset. So tell me a little bit about what kind of mindset do you need to even do something like that?
Right. I would say my first 5 Ironmans was all about completing it, finishing the race, right? But then I realized that if I wanted to go to Hawaii, I needed to race the race. I didn't need to cross the finish line to finish. I needed to cross the finish line to win. And so I think my mindset in the beginning, I've always been very goal orientated. I always have set dreams. I think I did vision boards before vision boards were even popular. And I would have them all around sort of like what my niece has. Like I would have them around my bedroom and like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to, I wanted to work with marine mammals and go see killer whales out in the wild and things like that. And I did, I got to see that. But I remember I think, people have asked me about my mindset, like, how did you manage that? And I think it was just based through my training and then trusting my coaches that I hired. And, a coach needs a coach, right? So I've always felt that having that support system, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whether it's your coach, really helped me with my mindset, because they provided the plan for me. They provided the plan. My coach provided the plan. I would go and do it. And then if I started getting in my head, I would reach out to my coach and be like, hey, why am I not hitting these numbers? Whatever. And then we'd start looking at, okay, are you eating enough? Are you drinking enough water? How's your sleep doing? You'd start looking at all of these things, right? And then I think the mindset started at a young age, because I was a goal getter, right? Or a goal setter, right? Goal getter. And then I just started applying it to my everyday life and just started, taking goals each day. Like if I looked at, here's a great example. If I looked at my training, like 6 weeks out from my Ironman, I would flip out, because it was a 6-hour bike, and then a 2.5-hour run, or a 2:45 run, a 4,000 meter swim. Like it was a lot. And so I'm like, wait a minute, that's 6 weeks out. Why are you even looking at that when you have to focus on today's workout?
Absolutely. So there are so many nuggets here. So first of all, setting goals. This is powerful. This thing is powerful. Visualizing. Whatever works for you. I love vision boards. I have actually clients who did it today you can actually do it on the computer.
Yeah.
When I started doing vision boards, I used to cut kind of magazines and all that stuff.
Yep.
Right?
Same. Huh?
Yeah. Some people like to do it like old school way. Some people like to do it like with the computer. Some people like to imagine, right? To do like meditation. Every person do it differently, but visualizing. And then you mentioned the mindset. I'm there to win, not just to cross the finish line. I'm there to win. Going there to win. That's the mindset I'm going with. Yeah. And then taking smaller steps towards achieving that goal. So you're not overwhelmed with like, okay, how am I going to finish the 6 weeks or whatever?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because that can be really overwhelming. And, my athletes that I currently coach triathletes getting ready for an Ironman, a cycling event, half Ironman, whatever that might be. I tell them, they're like, well, can we have our workouts for, like 6 weeks out? I'm like, I can drop in what the estimated workouts will be. I said, but I don't want you to focus on that because you got to focus on this week, right? You got to focus on today. You got to focus on this week. And that seems to help them quite a bit when I do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And by the way, although I'm not in sports, I'm in tech. I really love the connection between the sport, whatever sport you do, whatever physical endurance you do, to success in life. And I want to touch that also in your life, right? Sure. Because the physical, it's hot.
It's hot. I got hot all of a sudden. You know? That's what happens when you're 52. Life changes.
I know. I can relate. Right. I had a guest talking about menopause and premenopause and all that.
Good.
So the physical endurance, for me at least, help me become more resilient and powerful in other aspects of my life as well. And I'm very far from Ironman. I'm just doing like small things, but for me, it's huge. And I want to ask you how being able to run so many, like to finish so many Ironmans, and also in Hawaii, eventually that you did in 2017, how it impacted everything else in your life.
Oh, fitness for me is a non-negotiable. And when people tell me that they don't have time for this or that, I'm like, bull BS. It's absolute BS. Because if it's important to you, you'll make time, right? And I know there's a quote out there that talks about that. Prime example, like, I had to get up at 5:00 yesterday morning so I could go to the 5:45 so I could get down to meet my mom at her doctor's appointment, right? But that's because I have to do that. Like the fitness for me is a non-negotiable. So fitness, you don't have to, and that's what I tell. Like when I do the Everyday Healthy Human podcast, that's an ongoing thing about fitness, is that once you start having fitness or some type of movement in your life, I swear life starts to skyrocket, like you start feeling better about yourself. You start maybe dropping a couple pounds. Maybe you start adding a little bicep. Maybe, you start seeing the changes in your body. And all of a sudden you're like, well, geez, if I'm walking 10,000 steps a day for every day, then man, what is that going to, what if I add a 5-minute run to it? What if I get on a bike? What if I get on a Peloton? What if I go to a CrossFit class? What if I go to a HIIT workout? Like the fitness is going to amplify your life because you're just going to feel better about your choices that you make.
Absolutely.
Did I answer your question?
Sort of, but I wanted to touch base. Absolutely, I agree with everything you said. I wanted to ask you how it helped you to amplify your life, not just from the physical activity, right? And crossing all the finish lines and all that, but how it impacted the rest of your life.
It's my world, right? Like I went from, a triathlon coach who decided to go get her, I got a certificate from the USA Triathlon sanction And then I wanted to continue on with it to start my full-time job. And my full-time job is being a triathlon coach and an author and a speaker. I went back and got my master's degree in kinesiology with a exercise science emphasis in it. I started my own company, jenrulon.com. And people are like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do a lot of little things. I do a lot of things, but my main focus is coaching triathletes to cross the finish line with a smile. That's my tagline. And so that fitness changed my trajectory drastically. I met my ex-husband we were the triathlon couple. We were that power couple, right? And we were together for 18 years and we just recently are through a divorce, but we were the power couple, and we were that couple that focused on fitness and our business. And that's something that I can share now with my athletes is like, y'all, we did a really good job with our fitness. We did a really good job with our businesses and our jobs, but we probably could have done a way better job with our relationship. Right. And, so like fitness has played a huge role in my life over the last 25 years. Actually 30 years, because my dream it was in 89 when I saw that. So
Yeah.
over 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm sorry to hear about your divorce.
Thank you.
And it seems like sport has been a vehicle for you to pursue your dream life, to become a speaker and an author and a businesswoman. Yeah. And also I wanted to talk about Costa Rica, because I know that right now you are in Michigan, but you actually live in Costa Rica. Can you share a little bit about that? How did you get there?
Right. So it was in 2019, and I was doing Ironman Florida, and I was out at mile 1.5 at mile 1.5, and I looked out to the ocean and I said, all right, God, I need your help. I need two things from you. Either one, I cross the finish line to Ironman Florida, I place first or second in my age group, and I go to Kona again. Or two, I cross the finish line, I have the best race of my life, doesn't matter what place I'm at, and I'm done with Ironmans. Cross the finish line, had the best race of my life. I placed 7th in my age group, and I was like, I'm done. I'm retiring. And so when I got back from that race, I talked to my ex. I was like, I think I want to take a girls trip down to Costa Rica. And I'm like, I need a beach. I need no Wi-Fi. I need, whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. And at first he was like hesitant because he's like, can't you go to Miami or something? I'm like, no, I just want to go to a place where there's like, I don't want to speak the language. I just want to sit and not talk about triathlons. Well, long story short, my girlfriend wasn't able to go, so I went by myself. And I just sat on the beach and cried because I was like, oh my God, I'm giving up the sport that I've known for 30 years as an athlete. Like, what am I doing? So that was my first time I saw Costa Rica. And then I started talking with a girlfriend, and then I met her down from Canada. We went down in 2020 after the whole COVID thing. Costa Rica finally opened up. I went down there with her and a whole bunch of her girlfriends. And then at one point, my ex and I separated, and I was like, I'm going to go to Costa Rica for 7 weeks because I don't know what else to do right now. I just need to sit. I just need to figure out what's going on. And it made me realize, those 7 weeks made me realize I'm not on vacation anymore, right? I could technically live here. So I filed for the divorce, and that time I lived in San Antonio, Texas, and I thought, you know what? I think I can make a move down to Costa Rica. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know where I'm going to live, but I'm going to try it out. And I did. I moved down December 30th, 2021. I connected with a woman who had like 3 little houses. She was Canadian. So I thought, shoot, I can stay with her, and so I rented her space for 3 months. And then I started connecting really strongly with a Costa Rican family. And so we were all talking one day over coffee, like an afternoon coffee on the beach. And this is all in Spanish, right? They go, where are you going to live after after you stay there? I'm like, I don't know. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I don't have a place. I don't know where I'm going to stay. They're like, oh, well, we have an apartment. You could stay there. I was like, what? And so I went and saw the apartment. I was like, oh my God, winter. And so I've been there ever since. And the family has been reaching out to me. They're like, we miss you down here. Come back home soon. Like it's been a fantastic. And so, but when I talk to people, when people say, oh, I want to move to Costa Rica, or I want to move to Puerto Rico, I want to do that. What I would highly suggest, and this is something I want to talk about on my own podcast, is that go down there for a long period of time. Don't go down there for a week and then you all of a sudden like, I'm buying a house down in Costa Rica or whatever. Like go down there, live down there, for 6, 7 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, live down there. Because when I moved down there for my first 3 months, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Right. I put everything in a storage unit. I didn't have much. And we didn't have kids. And so I just sat there going, what am I doing? And so I did a 3-month process, right? Because being in Costa Rica, I had to cross the border. I had to go do a border run every 90 days. And so, because I'm not legal to be down, I mean, I'm legal, but I'm a digital nomad. So I could be down there for 90 days and then I have to cross the border and then I have to come back, right? So every 90 days, I was like, all right, let's reevaluate again. Where are you at now? Okay, you have a beach cruiser. You don't have a car. Your car's in Texas right now. Your Jeep's in Texas. It's with your girlfriend. Well, why are you paying for car insurance? Why are you paying for this? Why are you paying for that? Go back and sell your car. Like it was just a gradual process, right? It was me letting things go over a while. So long story short, I knew I wanted to move down there, right? But I knew it was going to take time for me to figure it out. Now, are there moments that I miss family and stuff like that? But me living in Texas, I saw my brother once a year. Same with my mom. Just because I'm in another country doesn't mean I'm dead. It's just, I'm just in another country and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the mindset, right? I mean, it's something around, oh, you live in a different country versus you live in a different state in the US that people will say, oh,
right.
Okay, people do that, right? All the time. They move states. All the time.
Right.
But moving out of the country, well, yes, also people do that. I did that.
Yeah.
But but not as many. And
right.
Although it's not much different, maybe the technicality, right, that you mentioned, you have to go back and forth, whatever, but it's actually not that not that much different.
It's not. And of course, some people just thought I was bat beep crazy, they probably did, but it's not their life to live. It's mine. And that's something that I'm trying to share and implement with my friends and my followers and my athletes. Like, you guys, you have one life to live, right? If you make the choice because the choice was made for you, that's living. You don't have to make the choice for your parents or your brother or your sister or whatever, or your friends. Your life is how you live your life. And you have to learn how to live unapologetically. It's like, yeah, I'm moving to Costa Rica. Y'all might not like it. That's not my problem. This is for me. This is my life. And it's, I mean, I remember my brother said, well, you're going to do what you want to do. I'm like, yeah, I am, but that's how you should do your life.
I agree. And I think that people sometimes maybe react the way they do. I don't know if necessarily because they don't like it or because it makes them feel bad about themselves, not pursuing their dreams. And look at, oh, she goes to Costa Rica. What does he say about me? I'm stuck in the same place and not pursuing my dreams. So it kind of makes, they reflect on themselves and how it makes them feel. And that's why they react the way they do.
Sure. Exactly.
Well, your story is so inspiring. What do you think, how can we get the courage to do those things? Because you mentioned okay, you decided to move to Costa Rica. You just took your things and went there for 3 months and you said, I'll figure that out. which you did, but that takes courage to go to the unknown, not having all the answers, make a big move.
Yeah.
How do you get the courage to do something? Like whatever it is, it doesn't have to be moving the country, but a change that you want to do, but you're not sure exactly how, and you're afraid.
I think a lot, for me personally, I think sitting with myself through meditation, through journaling, really helped me. And also being quiet about my choices, because people are going to jibber jabber and talk all day long about why you should do this, what you should do. Oh, you should go do this. Oh, you should do that. But only you know what you want, what's in your heart. And if there's a moment that you can truly sit with yourself and your higher power, whatever that might be, God, universe, whatever your beliefs are, if you could sit with yourself daily, at least 10 minutes a day, all I ask is 10 minutes a day, and just no music, no nothing, and just sit and listen into what your heart is telling you.
That's powerful.
Because the heart knows the way.
That's
and
true.
I think there's a quote out there, but my heart, because I sat there thinking, what does my heart want? I want the ocean. I want to be by water. Like, that was the biggest two things for me. So then I thought, okay, Texas has water, but it's south, and I'm not really a fan of down there. Like, I thought to myself, Texas no longer serves me. Okay, could I go out to California? Oh God, that's expensive. Could I move out to Hawaii? Oh goodness, that's even more expensive. Like I started thinking about, like, what do I want? I'm a Pacific Ocean baby. Like, I love the Pacific Ocean. I love the sunset. Now this morning, or the last couple of weeks, I was able to see the sunrise over a lake in Michigan. I was like, all right, so sunrise, you got something here. I like what you're doing here, but I love my sunsets. And so I started really being like, okay, what are my non-negotiables? Ocean, water, fitness, community, healthy food, and that was for me, right? And work, I can work anywhere in the world. That's the great thing about, I have athletes in Australia, Costa Rica, the United States, and Sweden. And so I can work anywhere in the world. I could go to Spain for 3 months if I wanted to. That's the great thing about my business.
Absolutely. And nowadays, so many of us can do that.
It's true. Yeah.
More than you think, and that's wonderful. I mean, I love that. I'm also working remote, and I enjoy the possibilities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's been so inspiring, Jen. Before we part ways, share how can people reach out to you, how they can find more about you and what you do.
Of course. You can go to my website, Jen Rulon, RULON.com. I am on a lot of social media platforms. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok's just more for fun. You could check that out, Coach Jen Rulon. So Coach Jen Rulon. And then you could also go to my own podcast, The Everyday Healthy Human. And that is talking about how to live unapologetically and how to live like a fine non-alcoholic wine as we age. I'm starting to see that a lot of my followers are women climbing our second mountain.
Love that. Climbing our second mountain. I love that.
Yeah.
I can very much relate to that personally.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll take all the links from you and put them on the show notes. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of From a Woman to a Leader. This is your host, Limor Bergman-Gross, and I want to encourage you to reach out to me on LinkedIn, Limor Bergman, and let me know, what do you think about the episodes? Feel free also to comment on Apple Podcasts and tell me, what do you want me to talk about? Which guests do you want me to bring? I really appreciate that, and have a wonderful day.